Yeah.
blind drill.
It's when you pull yourself out into the universe, it's really physical. You're inside this tiny little airlock, and it's just big enough for two people bumping into each other, wearing our big, bulky Michelin Man suits. And you turn the big crank on the hatch. You pull it up, and it locks up into place, sort of through a 90-degree pivot. And then you push open the thermal cover that's attached by Velcro, and it sort of pops open. And it doesn't pop open logically because there's no air to stop it. It's weird how things behave in weightlessness and with no air resistance. But finally this thing pops open and you pull yourself out. And the guys who design spaceships recognize that if you're building a vessel that's pressurized, you want your hatches to be round because that's the most efficient shape to seal. But the guys who designed spacesuits said, well, we need to give them a backpack, and everybody's seen a backpack, they're square. So they built this lovely, big, square backpack. And they didn't talk to each other. And so it's kind of a funny cliche in the book of square astronaut, round hole, but that's the truth. You have to, while wearing this little one-person spaceship that is your spacesuit, it keeps you alive. It's completely separate from the space station. Everything you need to stay alive is in this suit for about 10 hours. Oxygen, carbon dioxide removal, water, cooling, electrics, everything. And it's square. And it just fits through this round hole. And you're blind because you're wearing a big helmet, so you can just see a little part of it. So you have to kind of imagine for all the women in the crowd if your baby been square, you know? Sorry. Anyway.
I had one that was almost like that. He had to break his shoulder.
I was a breech bird. It almost killed my mom. My apologies. Anyway, so you have to very carefully unthread yourself and work your way out and not get yourself all tangled up. But finally, you pull yourself out into the universe, and it is. If you can imagine, if you had to go to the bathroom, you went to the back of the room, you're kind of walking down the hallway there, and you turn the corner, and you step into the bathroom, and if you were standing on the edge of Mount Everest when you closed the door, you're like, how did I get from the hallway here to the edge of Mount Everest in one step? How can that even have happened? And it's like that, where you were inside this little cocoon, and now you're in the universe alone. In between, and people say, you know, with the world below you. No, the world is now somewhere else, and the universe is below you and around you. You're in the universe with the world. It's a whole different feeling and perspective to looking up at the night sky, even on a clear night, because you're immersed in it, and you get your huge sense of aloneness, of one tiny entity in the immensity of it. And the universe isn't just a darkness, it's a palpable, textured, full emptiness, a full blackness, like a velvet. You can almost touch it because it's just got so much stuff in it that is right at the edge of your perception. And that's on your left. And the world's over here, and you're in the middle holding on with one hand. It's an amazing place to be. A real perspective builder.
Just ask sort of a dumb question. Is it at all like that movie Gravity?
Is it like Gravity? I read Sandra Bullock's description of Gravity today, and she said the movie was intended to be like a ride at the fair, like a fun amusement ride. She said the movie's intended to be an amusement ride, and it really is. It's a really good amusement ride, and the visuals in it are the best of any movie ever made. If you want to see sort of what I'm talking about, of what the immensity and the three-dimensional freedom and the world not being below you and the station being a thing in between the station and the universe, yeah, those visuals are better than ever. But it's still, of course, like any imagery, pales in comparison to the experience itself. And what I was talking about was when I was outside of my first spacewalk, I was blinded by contamination in the suit. And first my left eye suddenly went blind, which was not what I was expecting to happen. And I couldn't clear it, couldn't do anything with it. I didn't know why it was contaminated. Couldn't rub it, of course, because I got a helmet on. And although my hand went doink off the... I was thinking, boy, I'm glad I'm on a spacewalk. Nobody saw me do that. Anyway, but my eye just teared up, and without gravity, tears don't fall. So you just get a bigger and bigger tear on your eye of contaminated stuff. Unfortunately, until it gets so big that, and you're working away there on one eye, not telling anybody, till suddenly it crosses the bridge of your nose like a little dam bursting and goes into your other eye. And then you're blind in both your eyes, which happened to me about 10 minutes later or 5 minutes later. And then...
And you got to say, Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah, then you got to call Houston and say, sorry, Houston, I have a problem. I'm blind. Which is just what Houston wants to hear. And so they thought worst case scenario, and they had me open the purge on my spacesuit to try and get the whatever the contamination was out of the suit. So then I'm not only blind, but now I'm purging the oxygen out of my suit. Alone, on my first spacewalk, blind, listening to my oxygen hissing out into the universe, blinking like crazy, not seeing a thing, trying to get my eyes to work, until after about a half hour, I could just start to see shapes again. My eye had teared enough that it had diluted the contaminant that I could see again a little bit. And I called Houston and said, hey, I think I can see again, sort of. And they said, okay, shut off the purge valve, close the purge valve, and let me get back to work. And it turned out to be just the defog that was on our visor was a mix of oils and soaps and stuff. And it had been picked up by some loose water. So it was just sort of like squirting oil and dish soap into your eye. Which, don't try it if you're... But ever since then, we've used Johnson No More Tears on our visors, which you'd think would have been a good choice in the first place.